Hello and welcome. I'm your host Tyler here with
Nick?
and you're listening to Makeshift Meeples, where we won't teach you how to play board games, we just talk about them. Nick, what are we playing today?
This week on Makeshift Meeples, Star Wars Outer Rim.
Star Wars Outer Rim is designed by Corey Konieczka and Tony Fanchi and published by Fantasy Flight Games with art from more than 45 artists.
Players take on the role of an underworld denizen, setting out to make your mark on the galaxy. You'll travel to the Outer Rim in your personal ship, hire legendary Star Wars characters to join your crew, and try to become the most famous or infamous outlaw in the galaxy. You can gain fame in a number of different ways, including completing your character's personal goal, collecting on bounties or jobs, delivering illegal cargo, taking down patrols, or by buying it with your hard-earned credit.
So Nick, Star Wars game this week, huh?
Yeah. Star Wars Outer Rim.
I actually, when you mentioned this game, I could tell that you were so excited. You'd have enough excitement for the both of us.
Well, I am a Star Wars fan, and this is a game that I had planned on buying the first time I demoed it a while back. So, yeah, I was hoping it was going to be good, and I think, at least for me, it is definitely a fantastic game. I enjoyed it a lot. The particular game that we played, I didn't enjoy as much because I was fighting off a little bit of a headache, but that was more of a me thing than the game.
We all have those weeks.
Yeah. But, I enjoyed it. It's a little bit of a longer game, which we hadn't done yet, so that was a little different for me as well, but I'm glad that I own this game for sure.
This was also the first game that we got to play with the maximum amount of players.
That's true.
4 players. Emma and Rich were kind enough to play with us, and it was great fun. So what did you think of the rules in this game? You were the one that learned the game and taught everybody. How was that?
There are a lot of rules in this game because it is designed to be, a 2 to 3 hour game, I believe is what they recommend. And I think it does play in 2 to 3 hours. Obviously, anytime you're learning a game, it's going to take a little bit longer than that because you're going to have to look up rules and revise or double check on how things work and everything. But it is a little bit longer. There are a few more rules just because there's a lot of different things you can do in this game too. Mm-hmm. At its core, it's essentially a pick up and deliver kind of game, but there's so many other things you can do in terms of interacting with other players, interacting with patrols, and trying to earn your fame. So
yeah, when the game was first explained, I'll admit I did not understand how we got fame. I know that there was multiple ways to do it, but it's really difficult to just understand the action economy of what it takes to deliver cargo or what it takes to finish a job or complete a bounty. So the only way you can really know is by playing the game. And I thought that there was like 6 or 7 things on that list that can gain you fame, right?
Yeah, there's a decent number.
Yeah, and I could tell that there's not a specific way to win the game. Like you don't have to pick one specific option. You don't have to be the guy that just delivers bounties or the guy that just delivers cargo. You can pick a multitude of those and try to get the best conglomeration of cards that works with what your current plan is.
Well, and I think that's an important point. And towards the end of the game, we didn't get all the way to the 10 fame that you need to win because we'd been playing for like 3 hours and we were ready to cut it off just because the store was closing and everything else. But I don't think you can just do one thing and get the 10 fame you need. Mm-hmm. In this game, I think you have to be able to not only deliver bounties, but you're also going to have to buy some things. You're going to maybe have to purchase some fame from something at some point in time as well. Mm-hmm. So I don't think you can, in this game, just be good at one thing and make that where you get all your fame.
Yeah, and to me, this is just what I felt playing the game. Certain cards that you pick up that would give you fame were more difficult to do than others, but it wasn't inherently obvious how difficult they were. And the only way that I learned was from watching other players do things and fail at it, and it dissuaded me from trying those things myself. For instance, I think there was one turn or round where Rich and you both tried to do jobs and you failed.
Yeah.
And when you fail, normally you take damage. I don't know if it's different because you didn't read all the cards. But you take damage and it ends your turn because it's the last thing you do on your turn. But then the next turn, you have to recover all the damage if you're past your shield limit. Is that right?
if you are defeated or your ship is defeated, you, rather than being able to move or take credits, you have to recover. So, that's the only option you can take.
But it's nice you don't just get knocked out of the game if you go to 0 health.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have to waste your move, but you can still do other things on the turn.
Right.
And actually, that brings up the action economy in this game. I had a question. How did you feel about that? Because there's so many things you can do on your turn that it seems overwhelming. What did you think?
Well, I think there are a lot of different options for things to do. They do have player aids for everybody, which is really helpful in being able to lay out what you're going to do on your turn. Part of me, the action step, I wish there was, like, you can choose 2 of these kind of things. Mm-hmm. It just might help make the choices a little bit easier. But at the same time, there was a few turns that, like, I did almost all of those things on your action. Like, I did almost all of the available actions to me that I could.
Yeah, I could tell that the longest turns we had were turns when players were taking all the actions.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's obvious that it's going to slow the game down. But at the same time, if you limit the amount of things people can do, sometimes that slows the game down as well.
Yeah, because they have to make the choice.
They have to weigh the options.
Yeah.
And I think that goes back to kind of the way this game plays, is you want to do what you're trying to do in the most efficient way possible. Mm-hmm. And when people sit down and they, like, grind that out, like, how many movement is it going to take to go here? And if I have to stop here, does that mean I can't do this other thing too? I can't buy that item. Mm-hmm. I think if there was, like, a time limit on a turn, I know that's not necessarily a thing you put into games, but that would really speed up the game because you can sit there forever. And things change between turns, so you can't just decide what you're going to do. Like, maybe somebody reveals a card from the market that moves a rebel force closer to you, and since you're negative faction with that force, they're going to be forced to fight you.
Yeah.
And now you can't do what you're going to do, and you have to redecide. But if you have to move a different way, it's going to maybe take more movement than you have. So it doesn't work out the way you want and slows the game down. But I did like that. I like that the game changes in between phases, and you can't just decide what you're going to do. You have to think on the fly.
Well, and that was something I think all of us spent a decent amount of time in the think tank, both on our turns and between our turns as well, while other people were going. Mm-hmm. Because the board is constantly fluctuating, the situation is always changing. Like you said, I may end up moving a patrol that was a threat to you away from you all of a sudden. Mm-hmm. And vice versa. Like, it may end up pulling it closer to you. Now you've got worse options or better options, just depending on how that works. But the other thing, like, in between your turns, me and another player may strike a deal for a bounty exchange or something like that all of a sudden does affect you as well. So, like, there's so many different moving pieces in this game, and that's why it does take 2 to 3 hours to play.
Yeah, it's funny that you brought up that bounty thing, because in traditional Makeshift Meeples fashion, I was the first and only person that got attacked in this game. Luckily, being attacked in this game is not too detrimental.
No.
I think if you get attacked and you get damaged past your shield limit, it's the same rule as being damaged past your shield limit. You have to pay 3,000 credits if you have it, and then reset your shields next turn.
Exactly.
So really, player combat in this game didn't feel bad. It didn't feel... I didn't want to get combated, but I also did not feel animosity necessarily towards...
Yeah, so that's the other thing that I think we didn't do a lot of in our game, and my character should have been fighting everybody she ran into, because her ability was basically, once you fight 3 people, you flip the card over, and then after you win a combat, doesn't matter if it's a space combat or a ground combat, you get 4,000 credits.
You just gain credits, huh? That's cool.
Just straight up gain credits. Plus, almost every time you fight something, whether it is a patrol out there or another player, you're also going to get credits or fame or something else as well. So it's just like you get super credits plus whatever else you were going to get.
4,000 is a lot. I think if you were to just destroy a patrol on the board, you got 5,000.
Yeah, one of the level 1 patrols was like $5,000.
And if you're fighting a player as an encounter, which would also happen during the end step, you get to choose one of the 3 options. So fight a player or fight a patrol. That would be equivalent, I would say, pretty equivalent.
Yeah, because you're probably getting something else from them as well.
And you also hinder the player for a turn.
Oh, very
too,
much
so
so,
that's
yeah.
relevant. Well, my character had a flip side that said when you attack a player, or I think it was as a counter, you can attack a player, and if you win, then you get 1 fame.
They had to have more fame than you.
They
though.
had to have more
Yeah.
fame than you, and that was actually my strategy the whole game. Because in the beginning, I made this weird trade to Rich.
Yeah.
I made it seem like I needed 2,000 credits to buy the ship, which I did. It was the Houndstooth, so it made sense. I was playing
was your
Bosch.
ship.
It was.
Yeah.
It was very thematic. But I wanted that ship. But I said I will make my way towards you and give you this cargo if you wire me this 2,000 credits. And I only paid 2,000 for the cargo. So it made it seem like a very good deal for him. Like I was going to waste a bunch of turns getting to him, and I was just going to give him something that was going to help him win the game and give him more credits than he was paying me.
Yeah.
But the reason I did it was I didn't care about fame early. I wanted to flip my cards so that I could fight people late game. That's
You
what
get fame that way.
That was my original goal. It didn't really pan out that way.
Yeah.
But I thought that was still fine. I wanted to see if that player fight mechanic worked, and even though we only did 1-player combat, it really didn't feel bad. You still have access to all the other actions on your phase. On the, I think, action step and encounter step.
So there's essentially 3 parts to each turn. There's the planning phase, the action step, and the encounter step. So if you get knocked out, the only thing it really ties up is your planning step.
Yeah.
Which, again, it keeps you from moving, which could be a big deal. It just depends.
Mm-hmm.
And the other option on that step is to gain 2,000 credits.
Yeah.
So it does limit your turn a little bit. Only if you were like, you had exactly enough credits to do exactly what you needed to do, then you're not going to be able to do it for sure. Or if you needed those 2,000 credits to do a specific thing, you're not going to be able to do that. But other than that, it doesn't really, it's not like you're set back 4, 5, 6 turns kind of thing. Like, as much as, yes, you attacked me. I agree. It didn't have that feel bad moment of, why are you attacking me? I'm in last place, you know? Like,
I think the only time it could have been really bad feeling is if you were in outer space, because on this game you move your ship between these little dots, and those dots just represent spaces on the board, right? And if you're on a dot and not a planet, then you are restricted in what you can do on the turn, right?
Correct.
You can't buy things, and I don't think you can deliver cargo and bounties. Well, obviously you have to be on the right planet to do that anyway. But so if you got stranded in space thematically, right, you'd be limited. But yeah, I thought that the combat was fun too. It felt really bad when somebody was rolling 6 dice and you were rolling 3 dice.
yeah.
But I think there's enough modifiers in this game and like ways to manipulate the dice that you can have a low number of dice and still represent more potential power.
Right.
Or you could just
There's
have
a number of things that like let you adjust the dice after the roll and do things like that help out a lot.
Yeah, or you could just have 6 shields and not care if you take 5 damage because it's not going to hinder your prepare step. I don't know. This game, it seemed interesting. What did you think of the asymmetrical characters in this game?
That was actually something I was going to ask you about, because all of the ships have different abilities, as they should, and all of the characters have different abilities as well. I thought you had one of the more powerful ones going into it, because Boss can just heal 2 damage off of himself at the beginning of his turn.
Yeah, it's very synergistic with his ship too, because his ship said if he is defeated in an encounter, you can roll a die, and if I think 2 of the faces show, then you can just heal 2 instead of being fully damaged. Which I thought was a fantastic ability. I never used it though, so I wouldn't know. I also thought that IG-88's ability was ridiculous, because he could just re-roll any dice he wants in combat.
Yeah, that one. So as the game went on, that was really good.
Yeah.
I think it was any blanks you can re-roll, but still, that is a fantastic, fantastic ability.
I don't even remember what was your character and what was her encounter power.
I believe she was the one that let you contacting. Oh, so yeah, I could encounter contact tokens that were 3 spaces away.
Oh.
So I didn't have to be like on the planet I needed to go to. I just had to be near it.
So I gave you a little bit of pseudo movement.
Right. It kind of extended my movement out a little further
cool.
than I was able to go.
And I think Emma played Boba Fett. What was that ability?
She could secretly look at one contact on the planet that she's at, which isn't as important, I think, later in the game. But early in the game, when you're trying to build up your crew and find your secret bounty. I think it was really helpful in the early game, for sure.
Yeah, I do agree. She was using it often.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because she knew what they were, but we didn't. She didn't just reveal it. She just knew
She
what
secretly
it was.
looked at it, yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool. It's a lot. Information is power.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's Boba Fett.
Is it? I don't really know much
really.
about him because he died so early.
But that was something else. Like, I think the game and the designers did a really good job of matching up the abilities and just how the game feels with how you would expect the Star Wars world to feel and work.
Yeah, we're talking about theme now. I was going to ask that. How did the whole game feel? You think it felt good, right?
I did, yeah.
Okay, I actually think they did a really good job of making it feel like we were bounty hunters and cargo transporters and like illegal goods smugglers.
Yep.
It wasn't. I don't think you could just imprint any other IP onto this game.
Right.
Maybe you could if it was like a similar concept.
Sure.
But I don't think you could just make this game about trains.
No.
Or
I mean,
or something.
you probably could, but it would feel like a horribly pasted on.
But my point is they used the Star Wars characters
Yes.
in a way that made it feel like Star Wars,
Right.
made it feel unique. The only thing that I thought was a little outside of the theme was that they broke the continuity, which with the characters in the game.
Just with the timeline?
Yeah. So,
okay.
Like there are some characters that would be much older at the same time another character's in the game.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not a big Star Wars fan, so it didn't bug me too much. It's just something that came up. What did you think about that?
I mean, to a certain extent, yes, but I'm not as worried about that. I don't think there was too much of... I mean, we're not talking about having a young Darth... We're not talking about having a very young Darth Vader and, like... I don't know. I guess it's just... It doesn't feel like it's as far off as you might think
What you're
it is.
saying is only, like, really serious Star Wars fans might have a problem with it. Like,
Even that, I don't know if they will, because the characters that we're talking about, they wouldn't necessarily be, 50 years removed from each other.
Yeah.
We're talking about, okay, maybe they fudged the timeline like 5 or 10 years.
I think you're right, Nick. The only real problem people are going to have with the continuity in this game is that Jar Jar Binks wasn't in the story at all. I mean,
there are literally 2 people in the world that have a problem with that timeline.
There's nobody.
You and George Lucas.
There's no Jar Jar in the game. There's some Gungan dignitaries though. I think, which is kind of cool. I mean, maybe that's Jar Jar and his group. He's a dignitary, right?
He is a dignitary at some point in the storyline.
He's a dignitary. He's a Dark Lord. Who knows? He could be anything.
My gosh.
He could even be Rey in disguise.
You just never know.
But yeah, I did like the lore in this game. What?
Stop it with the Jar Jar.
Well, I think that the theme did fit. But at the end of the day, Nick, what did you think about this game? Did you like it? Was it fun?
I did. So the only issue that I personally will have with this game going forward is knowing it's a 2 to 3 hour play. Like, I need to have that much time set aside, which I don't get that often personally. But I'm looking forward to the next time we get to play.
Sure.
For sure. I would say the one thing that Rich brought up in terms of theme was he initially, without like playing the game, thought it was going to be sort of similar to the Firefly game, which I don't know if you've played that one or not,
I haven't.
but it sort of has some feel bad moments in it. But it's also more thematic to that universe as well. And it's a pick up and deliver kind of setup. But I think there's so much more going on with this game outside of that pick up and deliver mechanic that it's definitely different. I mean, there are similarities in that you're on spaceships in space delivering goods.
Yeah.
But
So there's a similar like theme mechanically, but it plays way different.
I think so.
Okay.
I do think so. And again, there's just so many other parts of the game in Star Wars Outer Rim than you have in Firefly that I think it's different enough that I wouldn't say they're, it's not a pasted on theme or anything like that by far.
I'd like to add to that. I think that you mentioned you didn't think I had fun with the game when we were playing.
Yeah.
And there were some turns where I just wasn't having fun because they felt like they were taking forever.
Yeah.
Like a whole round maybe took 30 minutes. But I actually did enjoy it once I started to do things.
Yeah.
Because for most of the game, I was just sitting in one spot because I didn't want to fight people to lose reputation, and I got in a bad starting seat because the way the game just worked out is that I would have had to waste my whole turn if I wanted to just move one spot. So I could only do one thing realistically, or two things.
You were just trapped in by patrols.
Yeah. So I felt kind of like bored because I didn't know what to do, and I was just doing the only thing that I thought I could do. And I couldn't really read the cards because they're so small. So I didn't know if I wanted to buy anything. But once I started to like read the cards and realize, I can buy that thing for free. I don't necessarily need to spend credits on it.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any money the whole game too, because I bought my ship so early.
Mm-hmm.
So it felt kind of bad. But once I actually started to do things and I started to get fame, there's one turn where I went from 2 fame to 6 fame.
Yeah.
So I ended up
you had
being,
a huge turn.
Yeah, I ended up being in last place, going to second place. And I think that if you actually get to play the game, it's really fun.
Yeah.
And it is really great. But you actually have to be able to read the cards and maneuver and play the game. I mean,
Well, I think everybody that we played with had like a turn or two where we realized we had just planned poorly the turn before that.
Yeah.
So we kind of had to take a turn and be like, I'm going to reset or like replan for the following turn, but I can't really do quite what I want to do this turn.
Yeah.
But I think you have that anytime. I think you're likely to have that kind of a turn anytime you're in a game where there's multiple steps to completing a task. And it's almost impossible, or I won't say almost impossible, but it's very difficult in this game to buy a job, complete the job in like the same turn. You have to be really lucky and happen to be like close to the planet. But even then, all the jobs you can't like buy them on the planet you complete them on.
Yeah.
So you almost have to like
It's very rare.
buy a job, complete it the next turn, buy another job, complete it the next turn, buy another job, complete it the next turn. So you have to kind of be able to chain those things together. So you might get 1 or 2 really good turns in a row, but then you almost have to stop and reset it based on what's available to you at that time.
Yeah, they definitely built some timing restrictions into the game. I wanted to mention one other thing, because you talked about how the game was similar to Firefly, and I know I might lose some people here, but when I played the game, I felt like it was a combination between Pokemon Master Trainer 1999 and Arkham Horror, because there are similarities between the two. Like you said, it seems like Firefly because there's a couple things that you do, but mechanically it felt like you're moving around to spaces, trying to acquire things, similar to Pokemon Master Trainer where you're trying to catch Pokemon, right? So that you can beat the Indigo League. But then in Arkham Horror, you're moving around the map and then revealing these cards and then doing what it says on the card to try to beat them or to gain some progression there. So it felt like a combination between those two, not thematically, obviously, but just in terms of mechanical play.
I have not played Pokemon Master Trainer.
How many people have?
Like you and 3 others.
Hey, it's a popular game. It's
sure. But I could see what you're talking about with the Arkham Horror, where you're moving around this board trying to reveal, in this game, characters and people you're going to collect bounties on, jobs. And in Arkham Horror, elder signs and other things that you're trying to get closed up.
Yeah.
Like I can see some similarities there, but I think that both of those games, both Arkham Horror and Star Wars Outer Rim, do a really good job of using other parts of the game to make it feel like Arkham and make it feel like Star Wars. And as much as there is that one aspect that is similar between them, there's so many other parts of both of those games that make them very unique.
Yeah, many mechanical differences. I do agree. Well, that's all we have for today. Nick, thanks for being here. I really enjoyed talking with you.
It's always a pleasure, Tyler. Hey, maybe next time we'll talk about some buff space farmers for you.
Maybe. I don't think they'll get that, but... Thank you for listening to Makeshift Meeples.
You can see more about our upcoming shows on our website, makeshiftmeeples.com, as well as offer us feedback or contact us about games you would like to see on the show.
If you enjoyed the episode, there are a number of ways you can help us keep this thing going.
Share this episode with a friend.
Hit that subscribe button so that you're notified of future episodes.
Like and follow us on social media.
And you can support us on the Patreon and Anchor app.